My maid is the chosen heroine, beautiful and talented. All of the capital says she resembles the slender mistress, while I resemble the plump maid. In my first 2 lives, she stole my clothes and secretly loved the crown prince behind my back. I envied her, framing her time and again. In the end, my clan was destroyed, and I met a tragic death. In my 3rd life, time rewound to the betrothal banquet. I declared resolutely, I will not marry the crown prince. I will marry Pei Xuan Si. I would wed the most dissolute young master in this world. I'd see if he could truly tame the female lead. Main text, the 7th day of the 4th month, spring splendor in full bloom, all things reawakening. In the warm chamber of the western wing of the Prime Minister's residence, Yun Tao rushed back to report, "Miss, I saw Chen Chao secretly wearing your dress." Her face flushed crimson with fury. From the moment I awoke, I realized time had looped back precisely to this moment. As usual, Yun Tao puffed her cheeks, ready to summon a servant to punish her. In the past, I would have smashed the teacup in my hand in rage, then ordered 20 lashes for her. From then on, she would have endured a miserable existence within the mansion, suffering every form of humiliation, her life worse than death. But now, my hand holding the teacup trembled. Damn it all, never in my wildest dreams did I, Shin Jingshu, imagine I'd feel such icy dread toward a mere maid. She must be the chosen heroine from those storybooks. Only after dying twice did I grasp, she was born a phoenix, destined to soar through the heavens and rise from the ashes. Calculating the time, it would be no more than half an incense stick's worth before father arrived with Crown Prince Pei Xuan Si. Cold sweat instantly drenched my forehead. I urgently called out to Chen Tao, "Quick! Quickly find Chen Chao." If I offended her again, it wouldn't just be me, the entire Prime Minister's residence would become the sacrificial offering for her and Pei Xuan's joint rule over the realm. By now, Chen Chao and Pei Xuan had likely already met, they'd fallen for each other at first sight. In my past life, and the one before that, I'd failed to control my rage. I'd publicly flogged Chen Chao and humiliated her, causing the crown prince to despise me utterly. Yet he'd feigned affection toward me while secretly pledging eternal love to Chen Chao behind my back. No wonder I tried so many times to drive her away in my past life, setting countless traps only to backfire, ruining my reputation and making myself despised. In the end, once she was gone, all warmth vanished, and my entire family fell into ruin. Well. Ultimately, it was my own fault. I was blinded by Pei Xuan's beauty, lacking both talent and grace, unable to rein myself in, and thus offended Chen Chao. The sun blazed fiercely, yet the Prime Minister's residence remained bustling with voices, vibrant and lively. To secure this marriage alliance, father specially commissioned a jade smoke brocade gown for my coming-of-age banquet, procuring it all the way from Hangzhou. They say when worn, the light silk swayed with each step, like lotus petals adorned and caressed by the breeze. Yet through 2 lifetimes, I never got to wear that gown. In those past lives, when father brought Pei Xuan to find me, I was having my servant pin Chen Chao to the ground, humiliating her mercilessly. Now, thinking back, how utterly wrong that was. Fortunately, my rebirth came not too late. Chen Chao had just been forced to kneel by Yun Tao at that moment. In this 3rd life, I'd grown a bit wiser. I didn't speak to punish her, only watched as she explained, saying it wasn't intentional. The tea gradually grew cold. The sun slanted across the sundial, time slipping away inch by inch. Chen Chao was truly beautiful. A cold, stubborn resolve rose in her eyes. Amidst Yun Tao's repeated accusations of why she'd stolen my clothes, she still refused to beg for mercy. Like a delicate, pale white flower, she shone as brightly as spring blossoms. In my youthful infatuation, I devoured countless romance novels. It was precisely this ignorance and recklessness that left me incapable of pondering why Pei had fallen for me. Instead, I naively believed that if I could eliminate Chen Chao, he would surely treat me well. How foolish, how utterly foolish. Yun Tao waited for my command to punish her harshly, but to everyone's surprise, I gently helped her up and gave her the brocade outfit. Chen Chao must have been thoughtful, knowing this size wouldn't fit me, and wanted to try it on for me. A servant's announcement came from outside the courtyard. The crown prince and father had arrived. I timed it perfectly, ensuring Pei Hexing witnessed the scene of me being so considerate toward his beloved. Father, however, was utterly dumbfounded. His daughter, who had always been spoiled, arrogant, and looked down on everyone, was now being so kind to a mere maid. He was completely in the dark, utterly bewildered. I precisely caught the disappointment and melancholy in Pei Hexing's eyes as he stood nearby. Yet, with his deep cunning, he concealed his emotions completely within moments. Clearly disliking me, yet feigning admiration, he murmured in a hushed voice, "Sister Shu is indeed innocent and kind." His gaze then drifted, seemingly by chance, toward Chen Chao kneeling before us. In my past life, before the banquet began, I had begged father to ensure Pei Hexing was the first to see me in my ceremonial attire. I wanted to surprise him, to give him all my excitement and passion. Thus, father had specially brought Pei Hexing into the warm chamber, leaving us alone together. But now, the banquet was about to begin, and my gown had been worn by another. It turned out that the reversal of fate had begun long ago. Everything I had sought was in vain, and everything I had gained was folly, all predestined from the start. Without my ceremonial gown, I had Yin Tao prepare a simple yet proper dress for me. In the bronze mirror, I saw myself plump and heavily made up. The delicacies of the Prime Minister's residence had already filled my waist. Before, when I heard everyone's flattery, I thought it was charming and full-figured. But now, looking back, wasn't that just the intoxicating potion of flattery? I couldn't help but steal a glance at Chen Chao. "Do you think I'm beautiful?" At my question, she offered a faint smile, her eyes brimming with restraint and self-control. "True beauty lies within, not on the surface. With your kind heart, you must be beautiful." She paused, then declared with conviction, "I am wearing your dress, mistress. I have no excuse. Thank you for your kindness." Her answer was flawless, praising my beauty while subtly admonishing me. Compared to her, I truly was ignorant and willful. Before, I'd always ordered Chen Chao about, likely out of jealousy. Jealous of her graceful demeanor and striking beauty. Even in her maid's attire, she always outshone me when we stood together. Whenever I saw her, I forgot mother's admonition to cultivate both inner and outer grace, instead chasing after splendid garments and icy cold jewels. Today, for the first time, I took her hand gently, my voice filled with concern. "Chen Chao, that gown truly befits your beauty." Outside, the wind blew in gusts, brimming with vitality. Her exquisite eyes shimmered, stirring a hint of ambition. At the banquet, everyone knew today's gathering was merely a birthday-themed engagement feast. So when the emperor, seated high above, beamed and asked me, "Sure, today I am not the emperor, but merely your uncle. I know you've loved here since childhood. Today, your uncle will decide, how about I marry you to him?" None of them anticipated my decisive refusal. It was crisp and clean, without a trace of lingering attachment, as if the person who once chased Pei here all over the palace grounds wasn't me. Mother, fearing I was acting out of spite, tried to smooth things over. "Sure is just a bit shy." But I shook my head, refusing firmly. "Uncle Emperor, the truth is I never loved Pei Xing. My heart belongs to Pei Xuan Si. I beg you to grant this wish." Those few words sent my father reeling, his legs turning to jelly. Pei Xuan Si? He was the capital's most notorious playboy, a good-for-nothing hedonist, the very poster child for what mothers warned their children against. Countless noble families dreaded even the slightest association with him, and the emperor himself was a headache over his marriage prospects. Indeed, choosing a wealthy capital maiden would surely sow discord between ruler and subjects, while selecting a foreign princess would hand them a rebellion. Truthfully, I didn't truly wish to marry. But only he would be someone the emperor would never refuse. And only he could ensure a lifetime of peace for our prime minister's household. The emperor had only 2 sons, Pei Xuan, born to a concubine and entrusted with great responsibilities, and Pei Xuan Si, born to the empress, a spoiled and arrogant playboy. Countless women sought to marry the responsible one, but not a single noble maiden would dream of marrying the arrogant playboy. After my little scheme, the banquet's center of attention suddenly shifted to Pei Xuan Si. He'd been leisurely sipping wine, but upon hearing my solemn vow to marry him, he leaped to his feet. Huh? You're actually willing to marry this good-for-nothing? I shot him a look that screamed, did you think I had a choice? Yet my lips curved into a mischievous smile, willing. I want to marry you. I want to marry you very much. The usually unrestrained Pei Xuan Si hadn't expected such a reaction. He stared at me with wide, watery eyes, blinking several times before stammering, then. I'm willing to marry you too. Her Majesty the Empress trembled with excitement, Your Majesty. Your Majesty, you must consider Prince Pei Xuan Si's marriage prospects. Throughout the entire event, I hadn't exchanged a single word with the Crown Prince. Only as the sun set and the guests dispersed did he approach me. I'd seen this face blush with shyness, glow with unbridled joy, but today, before he could speak, I turned and walked away. He grabbed my sleeve, his usually cool voice tinged with panic. Last month, Shura gave me a mandarin duck pouch, saying she wanted to be with me forever. Was it all a lie? Looking at his stern face, I couldn't help but recall the gaze he directed at Chen Chao, a tenderness and deep affection I'd never seen before. The naivety and foolishness of my first life, coupled with the jealousy and resentment of my second, had turned my own persistence and clinging into nothingness. Seeing him now, my mind was filled only with the horrific scene of soldiers storming into the Prime Minister's mansion. I didn't know if father and mother blamed me back then, but I imagined that even in their final moments, their thoughts were likely on me, far away in the cold palace, wondering if I felt pain or fear when I drank the poison wine. Now, forget clinging to him, even a glance fills me with dread. What difference is there between the current Pei Hexing and a ghost sent by the King of Hell? I fled as fast as my feet could carry me, wishing they could take me straight to heaven. Your Highness, better things await you. I remember from my past life that Chen Chao only grew rebellious after I was betrothed to the Crown Prince. How many poetry gatherings had I attended? To steal the spotlight, I repeatedly had Chen Chao write poems for me to cheat, all to win Pei Hexing's favor. But after I was betrothed to Pei Hexing, she publicly humiliated me. At the poetry gathering, clutching her whipped wounds, she knelt on the ground with proud defiance. What is there to fear in life? What is there to fear in death? Though you are the daughter of the Prime Minister, I am no mere weed to be trampled underfoot 100-fold. Today I shall dash my head against this pillar. May heaven pity my talent, understand my anguish, and punish Shinjingshu. May she suffer 3 lifetimes without finding peace. Of course, she didn't die. Pei Hexing stepped before her, citing our impending wedding to demand I spare her from scandal and treat Chen Chao kindly. What a failure I am as the legitimate daughter of the Prime Minister's household. Even a maid finds me lacking in both talent and beauty, unworthy of Pei Hexing. Yet perhaps no other noble lady could ever compare to her. Though born into hardship, an orphan from childhood, she was quick-witted and intelligent, skilled in literature and medicine. Her status rose dramatically after saving the life of the Duchess of Ying. Her love story with Pei Hexing is truly heartrending. She endured my relentless oppression all along. I thought I had driven her from the mansion long ago, only to discover she was hidden away in his secret palace, becoming his strategist. My role in their tale of conquering the realm together is merely that of a brainless, unprincipled supporting character. Even my death would be fitting. Enough. This poetry gathering, I'm determined to prepare thoroughly. For the sake of dozens of lives in the Prime Minister's household, I'll give it my all. I had Yun Tao find 3 private tutors in one breath. Mother thought I'd been bewitched, dragging me by force to the Prime Minister's temple. I abruptly gave up sweet pastries and fish dishes, ordering the kitchen to prepare only bland, watery meals. Father thought I'd fallen ill and even summoned the imperial physicians. They took turns pleading with me, my darling daughter, if you're possessed by a spirit, just blink. Me. I'd never applied myself to poetry or classics before, and my sudden engagement decision only reinforced my parents' belief that this was another childish tantrum sparked by conflict with Pei Xuan Si. After all, Pei Xuan Si and I had never exchanged a single word. I looked down on his decadence and extravagance, disdained his plain features, nothing like Pei Xuan's refined handsomeness. Yet he was the only man who never stirred my heart during the spring festival. I still remember how, after the poetry gathering ended, Pei Xuan found every excuse to keep Chen Chao in the outer palace halls. I tormented her until she longed for death, like a faded wisteria flower, cool and icy, yet hauntingly beautiful. Then she gained her freedom, hung a bell to practice medicine, and even saved a gravely wounded youth along the way. That youth was no commoner, he was Fang Zhuchen, the mighty general whose spirit devoured mountains and rivers, clad in splendid armor and riding a fiery steed. He was the Marquis's heir, who once repelled formidable foes over 3,000 li. Yet even this peerless hero wasn't the great figure who truly desired her. For instance, Jiang Nanxuan, the sole heir of the Duke of Britain, fell for her at first sight, while the eldest son of the Medicine King Valley repeatedly guarded her in secret. I never imagined a lowly maid could stir such turmoil in the capital. In my previous lives, I was so arrogant I believed a single decree could effortlessly execute her. Truly, even after Pei Xuan ascended the throne and took her as his consort, I still saw her as nothing more than a lowly being, forever beneath my station. I naively believed that eliminating her would make Pei Xuan return to me. So I openly provoked her, framed her, consumed by near-mad jealousy. Yet she remained true to her name, spring water dotted with ink, dew on the morning blossom. Cool and unique, like pristine snow resting on a roof ridge. No matter my insults or curses, no matter my schemes and plots, she stayed pure and proud. Everyone adored her, everyone despised me. Pei Xuan abandoned me in the dungeon to perish alone. Jiangnan Xian accused my family of crimes too numerous to list. Fang Zhuchen publicly beheaded my parents in the street. And the eldest son of the Medicine King Valley personally concocted a poison, bitter on the tongue, causing my body to rot in agony while my mind remained lucid. Finally, blood poured from my 7 orifices until I bled dry and died. I remember that sensation, the feeling of my blood draining away. Only at the very end did I finally realize I could never defeat her. Because I was nothing but a venomous supporting character in this world. Because seeing her made me seethe with jealousy, made me go mad with the urge to harm her. I refused to believe I was so inferior to a mere maid. Every worthy man in the world adored her, yet despised me. In my first life, I was foolishly unaware. In my second, I fought with bitter resentment. Back and forth, up and down, only to find it all a fleeting dream, with poisoned wine awaiting me. On the day I died, she wore the robes of a newly crowned empress, looking down on me as she said, "Shu, I never deigned to fight you. I merely wore one of your dresses, for who doesn't cherish beauty? And I even begged you on my knees. But you were vicious and foolish, harming me time and again. No matter how splendid the gown, it could never mask the stench clinging to you. As a woman, I pity you. Shu, in your next life, try not to be so wicked. Last life, next life, this life, truly, it all boils down to this, I hated that she wore my gown. In May, spring grasses sprout, the lake water, azure and clear, flows like a spring. This is the perfect season for gatherings to admire the scenery, and my mother was especially fond of poetry gatherings and elegant assemblies. Once upon a time, mother was also a talented woman of the capital, only to marry my father, a wastrel whose entire being screamed living to die. My father's brilliance lay in backing the right horse. He remained fiercely loyal to the emperor and never involved himself in factional politics. In his youth, as the eldest son of an earl, he was showered with favor. But after losing a cricket fighting match to the emperor, he became convinced the emperor was truly fit for greatness. My mother asked, "What kind of insight is this?" He opened the cricket cage. Mother saw that 3 of the 5 crickets had suffocated to death, and 1 was emaciated. A man who can raise crickets so plump and strong will naturally value the lives of his subjects and the empire. He seeks to win with crickets, but he must also win with the people and the empire. After the emperor uncle ascended the throne, governance flourished and the economy recovered. Father was appointed to the prime minister's office, yet he cared not for fame. He still refused to attend court or participate in governance, instead devoting himself to feasting, revelry, and the leisure of angling. This was hardly a wise strategy to avoid suspicion. He had once flipped through the art of war, improving slightly by staying awake until page 13 before dozing off. He was simply lazy. Even the emperor knew that while anyone might rebel, my father never would. My father even believed that spending a single extra second in court was a waste of life. Well, I follow my father's example. In this life and the one before, I've always been a pleasure-seeking scoundrel. After over a month of intense study, I finally reached the state described by my ancestors. My belt grows loose, yet I regret nothing. For her sake, I waste away. Mother said my waist had grown slimmer, and my skin had become smooth and delicate. Rarely venturing out this month, I've heard the capital buzzing with gossip. Some say Pei Xuan Si frequented yet another tavern, others claim my marriage to him was merely despite Pei Xuan, insisting we'll eventually reconcile. Mother personally instructs me daily, teaching scriptures and principles. Seeing my excessive diligence, she once tearfully urged, "Sure, your mother is delighted to see you cultivating both inner and outer virtues. But your mother and father both wish for your health and happiness. You must have your own choices. Whomever you love, whomever you wish to marry, your mother and father will consent. But I beg you, do not sacrifice your health merely to spite Pei Xuan. Do not gamble with your body." I recalled how I once sought cruel methods to harm Chen Chao, forcing my kind mother to beg for vicious spells. Truly, I deserved to be poisoned. Holding her hand, I reassured her once more, "Mother, you once said a woman's finest adornment is virtue, and her greatest asset is independence. I've only now grasped the truth of your words. It has nothing to do with whom my heart favors or whom I marry. It was from books that I drew strength. I understood that until the final chapter, who could know life or death? The poetry gathering on the 10th day of the 5th month, the Duke of Ying's birthday banquet in mid-month, the hidden beauty in the imperial retreat, and the bell-ringing rescue. At every turning point, I would not rush toward tragedy again for Pei Xuan. Just as Yun Tao finished preparing the carriage, Chen Chao approached with measured steps. Her face was as cold as ice, clad in a dark green gown. Upon seeing me, she wore a look of surprise. "Miss, you've changed so much." "Oh, right, do you still need poetry?" "I've composed several verses, more than enough for today's gathering. They're sure to win the top prize. For over a month now, I've devised ways to send her to the rear courtyard to serve, keeping her away from me. Each day, I dispatch Yun Tao to watch over her. Our realm enforces strict laws. If a servant bound by contract is mistreated to death, the perpetrator faces legal punishment. Though officials may protect one another, they still value their reputation. Moreover, in my previous life, I never gave her a second thought. Only in this lifetime did I realize that the turning point of all the tragedy began when she secretly wore my robes. Yun Tao said she now oversees garden purchases and goes out daily. I followed her several times but lost track each time. Rebirth came too late. Had I stopped her, made her alter the waist measurements, I could have prevented her from stealing my clothes. Then she wouldn't have chanced upon the crown prince, their love at first sight wouldn't have blossomed. Perhaps I wouldn't have had to marry Pei Xuan Si just to protect my family's safety. Chen Chao, you needn't accompany me to the poetry gathering. You've grown thinner lately. Rest and recuperate at the manor instead." "But miss, aren't you hoping the crown prince will understand your feelings? Your servant can endure a little fatigue." "Chen Chao, you know you're more beautiful than I am. I'm afraid you'll steal my thunder." A smile finally touched her lips as she handed me a piece of paper. "Then Chen Chao will wait for you at home. If you wish to win the top prize, simply memorize these poems." She departed calmly, as if certain of her success. In the carriage, I unfolded the paper and doubled over laughing. Yun Tao, baffled, urged the driver to hurry while asking, "What on earth are you laughing at, miss?" "Look, Hidden Tale Poems. Link the last characters of each verse, and it spells meet at the hour of Shin. 3 p.m., that little bitch." Yun Tao was so furious she scratched her head and pulled at her ears. "Miss. I truly can't stand how she uses her beauty to seduce the crown prince. Sell her off, or beat her to death. She can't steal your spotlight. Silly girl." I sighed. If only I'd heeded Yun Tao's advice and sold her off in my previous life. Alas, I was so arrogant back then, convinced she was merely a lowly slave, better to keep her close and torment her slowly. Now it's too late. By now, Pei Hexing has surely met with her many times, likely swearing eternal vows and even dispatching secret guards to protect her. Well, so be it. Letting things run wild, or killing with flattery, I can play that game too. Tearing the paper in my hand to shreds, I laughed. "Do you remember the words I entrusted to you?" Yun Tao flashed a sly smile. "I remember well, miss. Rest assured, I've placed a bunch of smooth-talking maidservants to attend to Chen Chao. They'll make sure she can't lift a finger or shoulder a load." The carriage rolled slowly along. I watched the capital's scenery, unchanged as ever, my heart stirred. As the ancients said, when heaven bestows a great mission upon a person, it must first torment their spirit and exhaust their body. I wonder if the heaven-chosen heroine, Chen Chao, can maintain her original heart amidst the adulation of the crowd. The Wind Courtyard gathered the finest scholars from across the land. To recruit talent, the emperor held an annual poetry gathering here, welcoming all, whether daughters of wealthy families or sons of humble origins. In the past, to win Pei Hexing's favor, I attended countless poetry gatherings. I memorized the verses Chen Chao wrote for me, lost in the waves of flattery. But today, their conversations all revolve around, how did Chen Jingshu lose so much weight? The world is ever fascinated by the intrigues of noble families. That Pei Xuan Si and I become topics of gossip is hardly surprising. Though the current emperor has a consort, everyone knows his true love is Pei Xuan's mother, a consort. The empress is merely a political marriage to stabilize the court. The empress possesses an ordinary, unremarkable face. Without her opulent robes and jewels, she would truly vanish in a crowd. Pei Xuan's mother, however, was a lady of noble birth who had grown up alongside the emperor since childhood. Though her family background couldn't hold a candle to half of the empress's, she possessed a face that could topple kingdoms and talents that rivaled any scholar. Pei Xuan bore a striking resemblance to his mother, drawing attention from birth and rising steadily to become crown prince. Pei Xuan Si, however, was merely a product of a political marriage, ordinary in appearance and lacking imperial talent, as if born solely to serve as a foil to Pei Xuan. I was once so infatuated with Pei Xuan that marrying anyone else felt like suffering and settling. In my past life, I never even noticed Pei Xuan Si. He always stayed in the dim corners, only remembered when he caught a glimmer of his brother's light. And because of me, he first topped the discussion charts. Lost in thought, I hadn't noticed Pei Xuan Si had slipped beside me. He stared at me with wide eyes several times before reaching out to poke my dimple. "You haven't lost weight from missing my imperial brother, have you?" Even he had heard the gossip. The emperor must have thought the same, which was why he hesitated to send the betrothal gifts. Having lost weight, I wore simpler, cooler makeup. I no longer wished to draw attention, dressing in King Pingyo robes, unfashionable within the capital. This was my chance to clear the rumors. I took his hand, leaning in affectionately. "Xuan Si, I've long been deeply in love with you. But I felt unworthy, lacking talent, virtue, and even beauty. I chose this path for you." My tone was calm, my smile radiating gentle warmth. The tips of Pei Xuan Si's ears flushed crimson. No one had ever confessed affection for him, nor declared their desire to marry him. Stammering with nervousness, he flushed and protested, "Nonsense. Who says you lack talent or virtue?" "A little. plumpness is adorable. Don't listen to their nonsense. I handed him a fragrant pouch embroidered with mandarin ducks. On the reverse, silk thread traced the character Xian in silk thread. The characters were crooked and clumsy, making me feel a bit awkward. I just started learning embroidery from my mother. I originally wanted to embroider the character C for you, but it has too many strokes. My skills aren't refined enough yet, so I could only embroider Xian for you. Once I practice and get better, I'll replace it with a new sachets for you. He clutched it as if receiving a precious tribute from the western regions, his large eyes sparkling. The character 4 Mysterious is beautiful too. Their mutual affection and playful banter made the scene all the more jarring when Pei Xuan Si arrived, dusty and weary from his journey. Pei Xuan Si and I sat upright at the banquet, watching the guests compose poems and tunes with great relish. In the past, whenever I heard Pei Xuan would appear, I'd always vie for the top prize, stealing the spotlight. But now I was unusually quiet, so quiet that when Pei Xuan sat beside me and spoke, I turned away, my voice faint and distant. Sure, I can't help but feel you've changed, as if you're a different person. He bowed his head, his stunning features like a fallen immortal tainted by the mundane world. Taking a sip from his jade teacup, he continued, Sure, your learning is profound. Why not showcase it? Had he not spoken, I nearly forgot, Chen Chao had composed so many verses for him. I'd already devised a plan, and today I finally met his gaze. Perhaps it had been too long since we last met, a flicker of surprise crossed his eyes before he regained his composure. He tried to lead me toward the crowd, his hand already reaching out to take mine. But I slipped away like oil on my soles, darting to the center and reciting Chen Chao's poem aloud. Every syllable, every tone, every allusion and quotation flowed seamlessly, the opening, development, transition, and conclusion all perfectly interwoven. Especially the final line, as dusk fades, our dawn promise remains, evoked the breathtaking beauty of a village emerging from a grove of willows. They began to praise me, flattering me as the reincarnation of the immortal poet. But unexpectedly, I shifted my tone and announced, I am but a man of shallow learning, how could I compose such fine verse? This is the work of my maid Chen Chao. She is the true talented poetess, the immortal poetess. The wind courtyard gathered all the talented scholars and beauties who loved poetry and books. Below, the clamor was incessant. Then I had Yun Tao bring out the poems I had written earlier. Every single one was Chen Chao's work, poems I had memorized in my previous life. Today, I finally understood, only those truly steeped in poetry and literature can see through human nature, recognizing that such flattery is nothing but dust and impurities. If it's not enlightenment, it needn't enter the ear. Everyone present discussed Chen Chao, some declaring her the foremost literary talent in the capital. I watched Pei Xuan, seated in the high seat, his face turning ashen. He surely understood every hidden meaning within the cryptic verses. The discussions grew more fervent. Scholars who had traveled far exclaimed their journey was well worth it, having tasted such exquisite poetry. My scheme succeeded. Returning to my corner, I scribbled my own mediocre verse on paper and casually handed it to Pei Xuan Si. Don't look down on my poor writing, I'm only showing it to you. He studied it for a long while, scratching his head and smiling at me. Others call you foolish, clumsy, and overly ambitious. Today, I finally understand you. You don't scorn me for not reading poetry or books. How could I scorn your poetry? In the sunlight, I looked at Pei Xuan Si and suddenly felt a shared sense of sorrow. I understood all too well, the taste of having one's light obscured, and the taste of being forced into the role of a mere foil. Without me, perhaps he'd still be lost in the mundane world, no one would speak to him, no one would approach him, utterly invisible. I gently touched his shoulder to comfort him. No one says we must become heroes who live as long as the heavens. Small grass has its own blessings, great trees provide shade. Xuan Si, when you are simply yourself, you are the great hero of your own little world. This poetry gathering left Chen Chao both startled and delighted. Startled that I hadn't stolen the verses she'd written, delighted that she'd become renowned as a talented scholar, with numerous noble families sending invitations seeking her as a poetry tutor. Nowadays, few in the streets still mention that I had only done it to spite Pei Xuan Si. In the wind-swept courtyard, I kept my distance from Pei Xuan Si, avoiding him like the plague. The world knew I truly loved Pei Xuan Si. Now, whether in tea houses or storytelling parlors, Chen Chao had become the topic of discussion. Even the maids I command in the mansion now revolve around her. I ordered everyone to treat her with respect, to support her in studying history and literature, to encourage her to join poetry societies, and to foster deep friendships. Yet I dare not let my guard down. Until the emperor issues the betrothal decree, the risk of marrying Pei Xuan Si remains. I must stay vigilant. Who would have thought that one day, I, Xin Jingshu, would look back on my former obsession with Pei Xuan Si and feel such bitter disappointment? Ah, well then, this fire must burn even brighter, so fiercely it cannot be extinguished, so intensely that my uncle the emperor believes it completely. By the hour of Xin, Yun Tao's men sent to track Chen Chao had, unsurprisingly, vanished again. The secret guards protecting Chen Chao must be hiding in the corners of the Prime Minister's residence. In my previous life, I only learned of these guards when I secretly hired assassins to kill her. I was heartbroken then, unable to understand why Pei Xuan Si would protect someone I despised. I believed his excuse of keeping her hidden away, and I believed his claim of protecting Chen Chao, because I refused to accept the real reason, that he loved her, not me. Long past noon, Chen Chao finally returned from her shopping trip. But her face was clouded with sorrow, her eyes brimming with tears. Yun Tao was utterly puzzled. Why is the young lady so sad? Everyone's praising Chen Chao's talent, saying she rivals the great noble families. She should be overjoyed, I'd be ecstatic. You're such a fool. I pinched Yun Tao's cheek, gazing at her innocent face and remembering how, in my past life, she'd taken the blame for my wrongdoing against Chen Chao to protect me. This time, I wouldn't let her risk herself for me again. I made up a flimsy excuse, she likely has her own sorrows. Now, Pei Xuan Si desperately needed the prestige of the Prime Minister's mansion to secure more powerful minister support. Not born to the Empress, not the legitimate heir, his claim to the throne rested entirely on the Emperor's affection for his mother. If that favor were to wane, he feared his special status would vanish. The surest way to solidify it was to gain my father's backing. Yes, though my father never attended court or participated in governance, the Emperor trusted him profoundly. Whenever troubled, he would come to the Prime Minister's residence to spar with my father like brothers, battling crickets, playing chess, or occasionally fishing in the countryside, living freely and unburdened. My coldness toward him, coupled with the hidden meaning in my verse, was so obvious it made him panic. I wonder if Spring Dynasty can now rival imperial power. But she shed tears, perhaps that answer lies there already. The 15th day of the 5th month, the Duke of Britain's birthday banquet. The Prime Minister's residence has already received the invitation. In my past life, it was here that the Duchess of Britain accidentally slipped and fell into the water, and Spring Dynasty risked her life to save her. In the end, the Duchess personally demanded Chen Chao's indenture from me. I had no choice but to set her free, conveniently allowing Pei He to hide his beloved in his golden chamber. During those missing 14 days, I pestered father daily to teach me swimming. He specially spent a fortune building a hot spring bath at home and invited the most skilled female constable from the prefecture to instruct me. Father couldn't fathom why. My dearest daughter, why learn such things? Since your coming-of-age ceremony, you've become so diligent and studious. Before, with you around, I could avoid some of your mother's scolding. But now, her gaze toward me grows ever more disdainful. A mischievous thought struck me, and I teased my father. Indeed, Mother's been staring off into space lately. Could she be thinking of that great general she loved as a child? If you don't start training, Father, she might truly fall for someone else. These 14 days scared Father into starting his own horse stance practice. Mother was deeply gratified. Seeing the household flourish and shed its former murky atmosphere, she too revived her own passions, hiring dance instructors to teach her graceful movements. I corresponded daily with Pei Xuan Si. The Empress took particular interest in this, sending gifts to the Prime Minister's residence every few days and instructing Pei Xuan Si to learn how to win my favor. She feared that once Pei Xuan ascended to power, Pei Xuan Si would have no place left to stand. With the Prime Minister's mansion as his backing, my father's connections among the powerful ministers were solid enough to guarantee a lifetime of safety. Had I not courted disaster in my past life, my parents would never have met their end by public beheading. My father, who never meddled in politics, would not have frantically pleaded with the emperor for my life, nor would my brilliant mother have been turned into an unwitting accomplice. No matter how fate twists, I will never repeat those mistakes. I will ensure father, mother, Chen Tao, and every soul in the Prime Minister's residence lives joyfully. Yun Tao devised every excuse to keep Chen Chao at home, but the girl was determined to accompany me to the Duke of Ying's residence. For the first time, the proud Chen Chao knelt before me. Rest assured, miss. I only seek an answer. I will never steal your spotlight. Yun Tao said that after our meeting at noon that day, she never left the house again. The answer she sought was simply whether Pei Hexing loved her. This fire was finally about to ignite. I looked at Chen Chao, at her coldly exquisite face, and smiled with pleasure. Very well, then put on the gown I bestowed upon you. Since my rebirth, I had seldom truly confronted Chen Chao. 2 lifetimes now, to say I felt no fear would be a lie. I avoided her, shied from her aura, yet I also cherished her, crafting a cage for her with my own hands. Every twist of fate I had turned to my advantage. I never chided her for wearing my robes, nor did I claim her poetry as my own. But today, I knew there was no escaping it. As long as the emperor did not grant the marriage decree, I could find no peace. The Duke of Britain hosted a banquet, inviting all the noble houses. Father and mother had long prepared their finest gifts to pay their respects. Though my reputation in the capital is abysmal, mother and father are famously well-liked. Ever since I played a trick on him, father rarely goes fishing or bird fighting anymore. Instead, he's taken to martial arts like freestyle combat. Pei Xuan intended to present my father with several rare parrots at this banquet. Yet after a single glance, he set them aside and pestered Pei Xuan Si, calling out, "Future son-in-law. You've managed to make my precious daughter look at you with new eyes. Quickly, teach me your secrets. Otherwise, my status as father-in-law is in jeopardy." Ever since I confessed that my heart belonged to Pei Xuan Si, he ceased being merely a transparent foil. Gradually, people began to praise him. Though the second prince lacked scholarly brilliance and the bearing of a ruler, his martial prowess made him a capable builder of nations. Seeing him wearing the embroidered pouch, my father beamed even brighter. "You actually got my precious daughter, who never lifts a finger for anything, to embroider a pouch for you? Dear son-in-law. From now on, I'm sticking with you." Well, whatever the occasion, my father was always the center of attention. I had scouted the exact spot where the Duchess of Britain would fall into the water and stationed Yun Tao there to wait for her like a hunter by the tree stump. To steel my nerves, I drank some wine. Just as I was about to ask Chen Chao for another cup, I turned to find her gone. At that moment, Yun Tao rushed in with news. "Miss, the Duchess of Britain is heading toward the lake." Great! Before I could even get properly bold, the stage was already set. Though May had arrived, the late spring chill still bit. I glanced at mother, chatting animatedly among the other ladies. Hearing some juicy gossip, she covered her mouth, laughing and gasping in surprise. My heart warmed, and suddenly, nothing seemed scary anymore. The winding path led past rockeries. Spotting the Duchess of Britain taking a shortcut back, I followed step by step. Finally, after she fell into the water, I was pushed in too. Gasping for air after swallowing several mouthfuls, I clutched the Duchess's flailing hand. "Your Grace. Your Grace, don't be afraid. I'll save you." Fortunately, Yun Tao had a loud voice. Her cry drew a chaotic crowd, and everyone gathered around. My father and mother nearly leaped into the lake. Mother burst into tears on the spot. "Sure, my sure, you must hold on." In May, the water was bitterly cold. My strength and warmth slowly drained away. The Duchess of Ing clung tightly to me, tears and snot streaming down her face, needing my constant reassurance. Pei Xuan Si was the first to jump in. He wrapped my clothes in his own, then handed the Duchess to the rescuing guards before carrying me ashore. Water choked my voice, yet I felt the dense branches in the courtyard bursting with spring vitality. The sun filtering through the pavilion's latticework felt strangely warm. Even the ordinary, unassuming Pei Xuan Si made my heart flutter. He wasn't as stern as Pei Hexing, nor as defiant as General Fang Zhuchen. He simply remained a quiet supporting character, never intruding on anyone. The world seemed to fall silent, so still that I could only hear his voice, mingled with his rapid breaths. "Shinjingshu, you absolutely must not come to harm." This was the first time he had ever called me by name. The Duchess of Britain personally arranged a side room for me to change out of my damp clothes. Only then did I get the chance to speak with her alone, and I hurriedly voiced my suspicions. "Madam, you didn't slip and fall into the water. Someone pushed you. Someone pushed you." I remember it clearly. Just as I tried to grab her before she fell, someone shoved me, a light push, not like a man's strength. Her brow furrowed as if understanding something, her expression grave. "Thank you, sure, for risking your life to save me today. I will see this matter through to the end." She stepped out briefly, presumably instructing the servants, and returned with a noticeably heavier frown. Father and mother were utterly terrified. When I emerged after changing clothes, they clutched my hands tightly, refusing to let go. The banquet regained its calm, and my heart finally settled. I settled down to munch on cabbage stalks. After disciplining myself for so long, I couldn't let myself be tempted by meat. Until dusk fell, I still hadn't seen Chen Chao. Had the Duchess of Ingwa not personally announced they'd found the murderer who pushed us into the water, I fear I might have remained in the dark even in my past life. I should laugh at this chosen heroine who couldn't escape love, hatred, anger, and delusion, couldn't escape the 7 emotions and 6 desires, couldn't escape resentment and suffering. The Duchess of Ingwa came from a military background, raised in barracks since childhood. She'd seen every kind of murder and every kind of scheme. The moment I mentioned being pushed into the water, suspicion arose. The household had already been thoroughly screened, it couldn't have been someone from the Duke's residence. That meant it had to be someone from outside. She scrutinized the steward's banquet guest list and interrogated every attendant and servant. Only my maid, Chen Chao, was absent from my side. Had Chen Chao been plain, she might have gone unnoticed. But her beauty rivaled the heavens, and she wore the robes I had bestowed upon her. Her every step drew attention. When found, the Duchess had her shoes examined. Sure enough, they bore traces of mud. And so, my maid Chen Chao became a prisoner of the Duke of England's residence. She refused to confess, stubborn as ever. Yet her defiant, icy countenance did nothing to win the Duchess's favor. A red-hot branding iron pressed against her skin, the scent of scorched fabric filled the air as sparks sizzled against her flesh. Even after every torture device was exhausted, she remained standing, gazing toward the doorway as if awaiting someone. Long after the banquet ended, I remained in a daze. In my past life, it was the Duchess of Ingwa who fell into the water, and Chen Chao who saved her. I wondered if, back then, this too had been a scheme orchestrated by her and Pei Hexing, a ploy to use the Duke of Ingwa to seize the contract of indenture from my hands and buy their freedom. Then, what about Fang Zhuchen? I wrote to Pei Xuan Si, instructing him to guard the capital's city gates. Perhaps he could save this grand general, resplendent in his finest armor. Though I despised him for slaughtering my family, he had protected the common folk of the eastern frontier and upheld peace. If Pei Xuan Si saved him in this life, it might be a win-win. 5 days passed. The Duchess of Ying reported that Chen Chao still refused to confess anything. Pei Hexing acts as if he never knew Chen Chao, attending court, participating in governance, even finding time to visit the Prime Minister's residence to curry favor with my father. Love beneath imperial power proves so fragile, shattering before the wind even touches it. Pushing the Duchess of Tue into the water amounts to murdering royalty. If it truly was Chen Chao, I wouldn't need to fight this life away. But what was her purpose? Perhaps only Chen Chao herself could unravel this mystery. The once formidable General Fang Zhuchen, who once commanded armies and conquered lands, reappeared covered in wounds, carried into the capital by an old horse. His first words after being rescued, as he clutched Pei Xuan Si's hand, were, "Someone tried to kill me." In this life, I've altered too many pivotal moments that shaped destiny. This time, it wasn't Chen Chao who saved him, it was me and Pei Xuan Si. We summoned the most seasoned imperial physician, exhausting every potent remedy to finally preserve his life. Yet in my past life, Chen Chao, his savior, now stood before me, her body covered in wounds. Her limbs bound, the once shimmering gown melted by branding irons. Gazing at my increasingly slender waist and pure, unblemished face, she momentarily lost herself. "You look so beautiful now that you've lost weight." Tears glistened at her eyes. Truthfully, my own heart was in turmoil. For some reason, I felt I was nearing the truth. Chen Chao, Pei Hexing is to marry. For the first time, despair washed over her face, a resigned, broken look. You and Pei Hexing truly are a perfect match. It's not me. Then. It's the daughter of the Duke of Ying. This news came from Pei Xuan Si. After Fang Zhuchen was treated, Pei Hexing had proactively proposed to the daughter of the Duke of Britain. Half a month of torture had left her unrecognizable. When the faith she had clung to was shattered, perhaps anyone would lose their mind. Spring dawn, the dew of spring, she shattered in the world's shadows, her voice hoarse as she cried out, "Why? I could accept it being you, but why her?" He clearly said that if I saved the Duchess of Britain, I could gain my freedom and love him without restraint. Why didn't he come to save me? Why did he marry someone else? Why? Why do I possess unparalleled beauty and talent, yet lack noble birth? Why can you all, who are inferior to me, marry whomever you desire? I compose poetry, arrange flowers, and master the art of astragalus. I am a woman of talent, a muse of verse, yet why can I not become you? He deceived me. He betrayed me. I was wrong. I misjudged him. In this life, Chen Chao never rang the bell to practice medicine and journey to the Valley of the Medicine King for study. Thus, she lost the male supporting character who would watch over and aid her. She had become a tool of imperial power, just like me in my previous life. Only she possessed a shred of Pei Hexing's love, while I had not a single thread. I always felt the truth was right before my eyes, yet never imagined it would be like this. She had no strength left, curled up in the darkness, her mouth emitting muffled sobs. I felt no triumphant excitement. Just like Chen Chao in my previous life, standing beside me in her coronation gown, mocking me, I only felt sorrow. Chen Chao, you were indeed wrong. You erred in coveting another's gown, something never meant for you, something that would never fit. It was finally over. I could sleep soundly, my parents could live in peace, and the lives of dozens within the Prime Minister's household were spared. The Duchess of Ying gently embraced me as we stepped out of the dungeon, rain falling outside. Pei Xuan Si waited for me under an umbrella, kicking stones as he did so. When he saw me emerge, he stared at me with his bright, large eyes and said, "Father, the Emperor has granted the marriage. From now on, I can call you Shuer." His smile was radiant. Everyone said he was ordinary, but to me, he felt so precious. Soon after, Chen Chao went mad, and Pei Hexing ultimately lost his position as crown prince. The Duchess of Britain presented her petition in evidence, while Fang Zhuchen brought proof of the assassination attempt by the secret guards. This time, he was beyond salvation. I finally saw through Pei Hexing. Had I not been consumed by jealousy toward Chen Chao in my past life, blinded by the intricate web of schemes, truly believing Chen Chao was the chosen heroine, perhaps she wouldn't have met such an end. No one is born a supporting character. We merely get lost in the dust, forgetting to breathe. When we finally awaken, after countless sails have passed, everything must come to an end. This lifetime. I too have donned the finest gown in the world, a wedding dress made solely for me, meant only for me to wear. The story ends here. Thank you all for your companionship. See you in the next chapter.